But moving on to what we're looking at here, let's first talk a little bit about the problem that we were dealing with Maersk. So Maersk came to us with this case and said that administrative burdens are, well, they're really annoying in terms of shipping. Basically, what happens is that shipping today is just not as digitalized as we'd hoped it to be in many other industries and similar places. We have a lot of physical paper trails. We have a lot of complexity with different infrastructures that have to work together. We have fraud, we have documents that can get lost, and we basically have a lot of delay associated with things that don't go as they should go. So we did a little bit of research to sort of examine, well, what's the impact of this and how big of a problem is that? And a report done by Cassandra Project says that $500 billion globally are lost due to a container ship having to wait in a port and basically do nothing. So what can result of that be? Well, there can be a physical document, which is right here, which I forgot to sign, and that has to wait there until someone notices it. And before they do that, well, that big container ship can just stay where it is. So the impact of that is, of course, a tremendous amount of documents being produced, and in the big data days, kind of 100 million is not really something we care about anymore. But I would like you to think of this as something that people have to interact with. So these are physical documents that people read and have to sign and process. Kind of like you having to, I don't know, read your, every single time you download an app, you have to read the terms and conditions way through. So a lot of complexity and a lot of annoying things. A more qualitative example, business in UK, 60% of them believes that their products are ready to be shipped outside of EU and US, but they don't pursue that because they're actually afraid that the costs and complexity associated with trade will result in them getting damages that they're not able to handle if things go wrong. So that's kind of the problem which we were giving. And then we thought, or a lot of people have thought, why don't we just put it in the cloud? Why don't we just do what we're doing everywhere else? You know, we create accounts where we store a lot of different stakeholders. They upload and they share documents, and then they do what they're supposed to do. And we sort of take this long, cumbersome process of sending documents to London, physically sending them back to Africa again, having them signed, having them verified, and then setting the ship off. Well, the reason for that is that, I don't know if you can read it here, but the farmer over here, he doesn't really trust the ship or the customs over here because they actually just keep a lookout of him every moment they can. So he's not very interested in having them share these documents with him. Another part is that the forwarder and the trader, well, they're competitors, so they don't really want to share this database together. And the third option is that, well, Maersk isn't really interested in providing the service because the documents which they can store, which are profitable, well, no one wants them to store those. The ones which aren't, they're not really a business model to do that. So a report by SIP, a standard report by Maersk, indicates that no one is pursuing this cloud-based solution at a level where you can actually get somewhere realistically with it. So what we're seeing here is that there is a need for blockchain solution. There's a need for an infrastructure change in the way that we're doing these IT processes in order for us to actually produce something meaningful and to get into this digitalized era of trade. And so what I want you to think about here are some of the very common concepts you've seen before, where we remove those and change them out with blockchain concepts. So we have a Venezuelan oil company and a Danish oil company, and they're doing some trade together. They're going to use Maersk because that's their favorite partner. And so Maria from the oil company, well, she knows that when she has to sell something off to Denmark, she has to fill out 3 documents. One of them is an export, one of them is the bill of lading, and the other one is a fire hazard. Fire hazard, anyone can see that. Bill of lading, pretty important to some specific stakeholders. And so she's going to send this off to the auction house and say, hey, look guys, you need to sign this document and you need to either print it out or sign it digitally. I don't really care. I just need your verification that what you're doing here is actually that I'm allowed to send it off. So in this case, he just chooses to print it out and he signs the documents or stamps them, and he sends that back again and puts it up online. And actually the next part is that the Danish company is able to access these documents. So what we're seeing here is just the progress of trade, nothing special. The business company in Denmark is able to get the documents, process them, and get their containers ultimately, and conduct business, making the world a better place and making everyone a little bit more happy. And these concepts we're talking about, they're very similar to the physical ones which we're already associated with and heard about in the previous sort of text and talks about Bitcoin and blockchain. But the change is here that we're looking at some code which radically changes the way that we can trust each other with this. So Johannes, if you can take us into the demo, what we're going to look at here is a smart contract which actually does all of those things which I showed in the video, but does it via code. So we're showing you an UI here. You can use anyone. You could also use the Ethereum client, but we chose to build our own. And what we're doing here is a whitelist where you can see that, Maria is saying, look, customs over here, you're whitelisted to my smart contract. So what you can actually do now is you can engage with this smart contract. We can see that actually happens because we can log on to Etherscan. Any of you guys can do this. This is public information. Go in there, see the transaction happening. It takes a while sometimes. Ah, there we go. So it's actually been uploaded, and we know that this encrypted piece of information that something is happening. But it's not really relevant to anyone because they can't actually see what is happening. So what Maria is doing now is she's uploading a file. And she's uploading this export permission document. And she's sending that off to the customs saying, hey guys, I'm sending you this file and you can now sign it and process it. And she processes it with a hash key, which she also sends off to them so they know where to go. So if we go back again to the presentation, then what we'll see is that the question is, we have a smart contract, we have these hash keys. How do we get all this? How do we communicate it? Well, we can use email here, and we sort of choose to do it low tech. We're sending out a message, dear customs, you can decrypt your file using this key, and you can access it here. So we're familiar with this before. It could have been any kind of URL, but this is a different system. This means that customs, they access the file, and they decrypt it using the key that have been specified, but they know that they're the ones who are supposed to access it because they could go into the smart contract, verify that it was their Ethereum address who was supposed to be the ones messing around with this contract. If someone else went in and did that, well, they weren't whitelisted, so they can't access the document. Even if they did and hacked in, well, they would get a file which is completely useless because, well, an encrypted file doesn't really matter much when you don't have the decryption key. So we have this very secure and, should I say, trustless system where we can share things together. So the next step on this, and the thing we want to build on, is Ethereum and the blockchain is one thing, but where do we store all of this? Because this public information in this encryption system is a little more complex, and we have to add an extra element to that. And that's where IPFS comes in. So if you guys have heard of BitTorrent or P2P sharing, you're familiar with this when you know someone who's downloaded a file once or twice before. What you've seen is that you can share these files, and they're kind of in this located anywhere, everywhere place that no one really knows. You can't actually go to, authorities can't go, hey, Shanghai, give us those files, because they're not there. They're kind of everywhere. And this is the same technology, but what it builds and what the extra layer it adds is a hash key, which is the URL. So we're providing a hash key which the users who are supposed to engage with this, which we knew from the smart contract who were, well, they get access to this file. When they change the file, the hash key gets updated. So this is a two-way street. It's a different kind of encryption than what we're working with before, because every single time that file is updated, we get a new key. Maria can verify, she doesn't have to trust that customs are doing her job, she can see that herself. And customs can verify that Maria did her job because they got the file, and they got the form, and they got the keys they were supposed to get. So, what we're seeing, and if we go back to the cloud here again, this sort of image, is that we're still in the same kind of, still the same picture, right? We still have all these guys, we want them to interact with each other, but we have to respect that they don't actually trust each other. We have to recognize that we're not in this, as we talked about earlier, world where everyone can just trust everyone. So we have to sort of provide an infrastructure where different people who have no interest or means of trusting each other can still conduct business. And that brings us to, well, what are we getting out of this? Sorry, there. What does Crypod provide for Maersk right now, or sort of in general for companies like Maersk who are interested in doing this kind of thing? Well, we're not really account managers or mess around with daily trading, but storing things in the blockchain is practically free. That's always nice. Another thing is that it's a stronger and more decentralized way of storing documents, which ultimately allows for more people to engage. So we're not actually focusing so much on being the fastest or being the ones who can provide the newest. We want to do something that is very robust and has really been tried and tested. And then we're going to get bigger because we can engage with customers, we engage with clients who don't trust each other and who are not in infrastructures where there is trust embedded. And we can bring this technology to them and allow them to engage in business with us in new ways that weren't possible before. So what are we looking at in the future here? Well, we would love to show you could digitally sign the documents, which is actually possible, but that's sort of the next step here, right? If we can begin to sign the documents, then we have everything online. We can completely eliminate this physical process. And not only can we begin to bring this very powerful infrastructure, digital infrastructure, that the first world benefits from greatly, but we can also begin to do more things with it, more innovative things, and engage with new customers in the same way. So, is it a product that Maersk should build? It could be, if they're interested in doing that. It's also a research project which is to progress forward, engaging with other customers, engaging with competitors, thinking, well, if the cake gets bigger for everyone, then that's not really a bad thing for anyone. And that's Crypod. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. We'll have the third and final presentation, and I'm sure if people want more details, they can find you after the event or during one of the breaks. I just want to remind you that you'll be able to vote for your favorite student presentation. After this third and final presentation, we'll give you an address where you can vote. And you'll have until after the coming break to vote for your presentation. Also, I would like to remind you that we have a debate panel coming up after the break, and you'll be able to ask questions right here, and you'll also be able to tweet questions using the hashtag blockchain2016. We'll try to keep an eye out for those questions there. Are you ready? Okay.
If you're ready, I'll be ready. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jose, and I'm here together with Ante and all the other members of our group to present you the result of the work that we have conducted in the hackathon for Nordea. The objective that we had is to look if we can build up a blockchain-based solution to make the know your customer process in a bank more efficient, easier, and actually cheaper. In order to give you a certain context, I would like you to show you this slide, in which we will see how the onboarding process of taking one customer to make it able, from a regulatory point of view, to work with the bank actually